If I remember right, the money's in the budget, right? All right, so, well, we gotta start somewhere. I don't think we're ever gonna get the perfect setup, because the way the fields out there are. It's always gonna have to be like a makeshift, that, I gotta fit, but we gotta start somewhere. I mean, so I go along with, we only got one bid, I mean, what are we gonna, I mean, one pole, you know, we're stuck, you know, we're stuck in a rock and a hard place. We have no one else to dicker with. You know, we have to go with these guys. And then, like the gentleman said, it was a fair price. Now, I know the padding not included, but, you know, you just do that down the road, like we said. You know. So I agree with, you know.
I just want to say that I recognize that the financial situation of the state and district, and I honestly, like, when I'm thinking about this, I think about the parking situation and how it just was never financially feasible to do something until it was a catastrophic problem, and I don't want this board to wait until something happens. I mean, granted, somebody got hit in the back, and thankfully that person wasn't hurt. It's only one time a kid gets hit in the head, and I just don't think that that's a risk worth taking.
Any other questions or comments? Yeah, please.
The padding's not going to get done with this.
I have no idea. I don't know what the plan is. I'm going to share my opinion with this. I think it is incomplete as proposed. I think any design professional that's going to put a plan in place and say, go buy an off-the-rack padding system to put on the pole without commenting as to whether or not it's sufficient, so that if a child does get hurt, and we're going to say, oh, well, we just went to the store and bought something on the internet, and the design professional's not putting his name or his stamp in. So what that does is that all the money we paid for a design professional, when, you know, as Joe has suggested to the media and the rest of all the 3 towns, that our insurance premiums are going to skyrocket if we don't do this. They're going to skyrocket when you get a bad claim, because we decided as a board to do a safety appurtenance here without a design professional signing off on what specifications we should use. At a bare minimum, they should be telling us that. Second thing is, in my opinion, is there should be a wind rating on this application. I don't care about building code, but if there is not a wind rating that tells us what the sustained wind load is on this thing that it can take, so that our staff will know when they need to go outside, seeing a weather report to take the net down, so that we don't come back to work the next morning or drop our kids off at school or watch the buses come by, and you got a 30-foot net flying in the wind, because no one said that the sustained wind rating is different from gust. And for him to say that there is not a sustained wind rating on this thing is alarming to me. So, yes, this needs to get done, and I think we need to make sure that it gets done. What I'm saying is that in this current state, it is incomplete, and it is shifting liability back to the board if we make a decision to just accept something like this. They should be telling us what those pads should be and what the rating is on that, based on what these kids have to do. I could go to the Consumer Product Safety Commission right now and tell you, based on surfacing material on a playground, based on the height that a child of a certain age is going to fall, how thick and what the recoilability has to be of that material. Are you going to tell me that they don't have similar standards for pads for kids that are in the gymnasium or in the field that are running into pads like this with NFL players, with baseball players, with professionals that are out there whose careers are at stake, people who make millions of dollars, and there's not a standard that says you need to have some sort of padding that's in here that can resist this. So I disagree with the approach, but I understand we need to get this done. So we'll go from there.
So the answer is with this current bid, it does not include the padding.
No, he's telling me to go get it off the rack.
Do I make a motion or amendment?
Well, I guess so. Let's just get the comments out first, I guess.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I agree with you on that, but what the engineer recommended was that you do not do this until the baseball and tennis season are over. So do we have to do this today? I mean, do we have time to fix it?
In respect to the superintendent, he's been trying to get this contract done.
Right.
He's been taking heat unnecessarily on this.
Right.
for too long, and so we have to give him direction on the contract, whether he does the project in the summer or now, but either way, we have to fish or cut bait on the, he cannot sign that contract without authorization.
No, I understand that, but would it make sense to get some of those questions answered and get someone to sign off on a correct thing, the correct padding? Because he wouldn't make that commitment. And also, I'd like the input of the coaches to see if they're, I mean, if this is gonna be the same thing that happened last summer, because they said, not my court, and it didn't get done. It's really concerning that it's sticking out that far into the baseball, into the outfield. And they may say no, which means it doesn't get done.
Jane, if we don't approve this contract, is it still encumbered, or is it not when we lose it?
It's encumbered now.
It's encumbered.
It's
So,
encumbered.
And technically, there's a deadline on the contract too.
on the bid?
Yeah.
Yeah, good.
Just a comment on the pad. The guy's telling you, don't you realize, he's saying off the shelf, he doesn't really want to be involved with padding. They just want to get the netting up. Okay, I'm sure there's other companies that we get a hold of just to deal with the padding. Because you want to know what the padding made of, how thick, and this, that, and everything. I'm sure we get a lot. I don't think he wanted to revolve it. That was my feeling. So you gotta get the thing up first, and then you bring someone in, you tell them, hey, we want to make it, more protective for anybody, and then we deal with them. It's gonna be a little extra money, granted, but I think that's the way it goes. I don't think you're gonna get one deal in that, you know, I don't think you want to touch it.
I don't think you can put up the net without the padding there. It has to be done at the same time. Because you cannot risk some kid running into that pole. You absolutely cannot.
You would be making a questionably risky situation extremely dangerous. No, what I'm saying, no, you can't let that.
And I was saying, okay, what you can do is while the net is going up, you get a hold of another company that put up the.
Understood.
Yeah.
Understood. It's always helpful to have a design engineer that you pay a lot of money to give you the specifications for that. They're normally qualified to do that. It's not a stretch, but.
It didn't look that difficult in the picture for the pad.
No.
All right.
No, that's fine. That's just my opinion.
I understand that, but
Different expectations of my profession.
Okay.
Okay, any other discussion on that?
Yeah, I have some.
Carol?
First of all, I agree that the coaches need to review it once again, because we'll be in the same situation we were last summer. It was in July, as I recall, that the coaches nixed the first design. And then, I know that DSC was involved. I know there was a Luke McCoy who was aware of the situation with the coaches and the placement of the poles. And I was really interested in seeing what they were gonna come up with for design, to see how they were gonna solve the problem. And then it kind of got shoved aside, and frankly, facilities never did get to review the plans. I asked for the plans a number of times, and all of a sudden it was out to bid, and I still wanted to see the plans. I went online, and I saw where the poles were, and it concerned me. And I asked to see the full specifications and the design of the plans, and I didn't see those until 2 days before I left for vacation, 2 weeks ago. And I said, this is completely what we did not ask for. And we paid these people money to design something. I don't think they fulfilled their design requirements. And I also feel that we need more detailed specifications. To say, get something off the shelf is, to me, something any layman can say. That's not a design professional who's licensed by the state of Connecticut to do this type of work. Secondly, I just looked at the proposal contract from Eagle Fence, and at the bottom it said, excludes design requirements. All engineered stamped shop drawings can be supplied for the state of Connecticut at an upcharge of $2,000. So to the 38.5, we gotta add $2,000, and then we gotta add another $3,000 for the padding, maybe. That was an estimate. So we're up to $43,500 for this, and still don't know what kind of an animal it is. It's still kind of nebulous. And we paid somebody $8,000, at that end,
Bruce, you have a comment?
to,
Oh, sorry.
you know, to produce the detailed design documents. And I don't think we got what we paid for.
Bruce?
So, I did note on there that they had said that with their PE stamp, they needed an upcharge for it. So the question comes back to, does it specify that the stamp has to be, state of Connecticut? Did it specify in the documents that it be stated?
I think it did, because we require all Connecticut seals and Connecticut insurance companies, simply because that way gives you some control over the licensing authority. It could be, you know, the stamp could be from the Republic of the Bahamas. It would be ridiculous about it.
So the other thing is whenever there's a dispute in the contract that's been signed with regard to, you know, the design padding, et cetera, there's no reason that we can't tell the designer of record that they need to provide that information. And that should be provided back immediately to them, saying, this is a requirement on this design, you did not give us fulfill your obligations, you need to provide this.
I'm gonna add again what I already said. You're not getting the drift of what he's telling you. It's a will fit. It isn't like you're gonna build a field and then put up tennis and whatnot. It's all, okay, let's put the, but it's already done. It's built the way it is, you gotta live with it. He's telling you it's a will fit. You don't you realize you only got one quote? So what's that telling you? Nobody else wants to touch it, to be bothered with it, because I'm just telling you what, it's a will fit. And you know, you keep jockeying around, it's like a thing, you can put out the bid again. No one's gonna bid on it, no one bid on this time, I'm not gonna bid on the second time around.
I think what he said was that because it was bid late in the year, maybe not as many people, put out, not as many people did because they have already planned
Maybe, but
their installations. But whether you have one person or not, this design is incomplete.
why?
Why? Because the paddings aren't specified.
Just the padding.
Coaches haven't reviewed it.
Even with the padding, we don't know if the coach.
We've gone through this.
That's why I
And
know-
all your positions are respectfully on the record.
I'm just trying to read between the lines.
Understood, understood, Tom, thank you.
Okay.
Anyone else?
I just want to make a motion to amend to increase the fee stick for $3,000 to cover the padding.
Is there a second to that? There's a second, any discussion on selecting the padding from everything that this is all safety netting?
I'm recommending that students go back and ask for the specification for your discussion. And we really got to install it at the same time we do the fence. So, and we have the money in the capital fund. So we should just give him the authority to move along with it and get the answers that, the concerns that people have.
Any discussion?
I'm not comfortable with going forward with something if we don't have all the details worked out. That's my concern. You know, somehow this conversation makes me feel like deja vu. Isn't this what happened with so many other things that we're trying to fix now that, 12 years ago were done properly? We've been very critical, and a lot of people on this board have been very critical and outspoken about what happened in the past, were approving things that should have been approved and should have been reviewed more thoroughly. And here we are, trying to decide if we're going to accept this or not. And I just can't accept it in this way.
Any other questions or discussion on the amendment? All those in favor of the amendment say aye. Opposed? Abstention. Motion passes. Okay, that brings us back to the broader version of the motion, which is to accept the contract plus an additional $3,000 to cover the cost of padding. Any further discussion on that?
I want to say is that we voted on this thing 3 times already. We're actually saving money with the last last bid, then our first approved board, we've been talking and voting on this thing for over a year now. It's time to move it on, get it off our plate.
I'd just like to add that there'll be an expectation that we ask the engineer to put together the specifications and answer the questions that have been raised, set forth by our fellow board members, that they think that there's a legitimate concerns in that. Those answers happen, if we get those answers, and hopefully to Bob's satisfaction.
As we just,
Just as the motion goes forward and the motion's approved or whatever, that I be authorized to sign the contract.
and that should be the original motion. The motion
I
should
just want to
be,
be sure that that's there.
the motion is to authorize you to sign the contract as proposed with fencing, right, plus an additional $3,000.
How about the $2,000 for the engineering?
That's not in the motion.
Not the motion. Amend the motion.
You like, can you amend to the motion?
I'm not in favor of doing it at all, so, not in this format, but I think we should think about, as a matter of discussion, the fact that engineering is not included and there's enough charges for $2,000 for that.
Thank you. Any other comments? If not, we'll call it the vote. All those in favor of the motion, say aye. No, sorry. Chair's voting no, sorry. Go ahead, raise your hands, please, so we get a count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Those opposed? Motion passes. 6-3. Okay, that brings us to item 8.7, on discussion and possible action regarding the budget transfers and enclosure 8.7. You have your sheets with you. You'll see that the proposed transfers totaling $229,166 is presented in the accounts that are affected by it under enclosure 8.7. Need a motion to accept the transfers as proposed under, motion made by Rich, is there a second? Second by Bruce. Discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor of the transfers under item 8.7, say aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. Item 8.8, discussion and possible action regarding the establishment of a graduation date to the state statute. So we need a motion to establish or set forth the establish the graduation date of June 10th, 2016. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion made by Bruce, second by Rich. Any discussion?
Yeah, I would,
Yes.
I got a question.
Yes.
Are there enough kids graduating that we have to hold it?
Is there what?
Enough kids graduating that we have to set a date? Can't we just mail them the diploma, it's like terrible? Only a joke, you guys.
All those in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes. Graduation is established. Okay, 8.9, we have discussion and possible action regarding the appointment of the members of the building committee for the ADA project pursuant to Connecticut General Statutes, Section 10291A, item 8.9. So what I'd like to ask for is a motion to appoint Bruce Olmsted as the chair of that legal committee and to have the facilities committee be the actual committee to carry out the responsibilities of overseeing construction, approving invoices, and reviewing final design, as noted in the resolution that was approved by the board on November 9th, 2015.
So moved.
Motion made by Amy, is there a second? Second by Carol, any discussion?
I'm not sure you're allowed to appoint a chair.
Well, The reason that we're appointing the chair is because it's a legal committee by statute that needs to be appointed. And pursuant to that reason, he needs to be a chair. So I'm asking the board to approve him as the chairperson and to approve the facilities committee to be in the committee.
I thought the committee has to make the selection of the chair.
That would be a subcommittee of the board. That's the spokesperson, not a chair. That's a different procedure. This is a specific committee that is set up by statute. It's not a subcommittee of the board. It's a board with legal standing, if I'm not mistaken, right, Bob, to authorize contracts, approve contracts,
We
do
have
bidding.
established a committee by vote of the board, and I have to send that in as part of the application.
Okay, any further discussion on that? All those in favor of the motion say aye. Any opposed? Opposition, one abstention. Bruce abstained. Motion passes. It brings us to item 8.10. Discussion added to the agenda regarding the drug safety issue. The item was put on motion by Rich and seconded by Rich.
Yeah, it was brought to my attention by a couple parents that there's an issue with the safety of the bathrooms, where people are frightened to go into the bathrooms because of the e-cigarettes and some of the drug uses that are going on in the bathrooms. I suppose, from these parents, I'm hearing that there's clouds of the stuff going on in there. They've got to watch out, people watching at the doors, and I just want to hear that we're doing something to address that.
What bathrooms and where? What
High school,
bathrooms you
middle
talking
school.
about?
High school bathrooms.
Where? All of them, or just specific area?
They didn't say specific area.
Like during school, after school?
Was this brought to your attention, Scott, at all, by any chance? Was this recent?
Yeah, I just heard about it this week.
Well, certainly, absolutely, it's hot on our attention because unfortunately, vaping and electronic cigarettes have seen a huge explosion of use. And in particular, bathrooms is something that we're very aware of. And we have staff that enter the bathrooms throughout the day. We actually would say that the use has been diminished significantly. At the beginning of this year, tail end of last year, beginning of this year, it was much more widespread. We feel we've really been able to make a huge impact in that we regularly, particularly early in the year, have been confiscating the electronic cigarettes. We changed the administrative regs so that they're included in the alcohol and tobacco regulations, so we can treat them as such, because not all vapor cigarettes have nicotine in them necessarily. We obviously don't have the facilities to measure and determine what is in it, although we do test them for the presence of THC. So, we're very aware of the issue, and I believe that we're acting very aggressively to curtail it. Not to say that a kid may not, go to the bathroom and there's a kid vaping, but I think the likelihood of that is significantly diminished. And, the electronic cigarettes they're a new challenge for us. They don't produce smoke, they produce water vapor. Some of them produce a telltale sign or a smell because they often include scented oils, so it's kind of a sweet smell, and so it's occurring, but it certainly has created a technology that makes it easier for somebody who wants to vape to do so as opposed to smoke a cigarette, which is so obvious and hard to hide and mask. But yeah, no, we're very, very aware of it. I would say painful aware.
I have to agree with the fact that use has definitely gone down. Like Mr. Leslie said, there was the period at kind of the end of last year, beginning of this year, where you could walk into the bathroom and see it was a tad bit hazy sometimes, but that's definitely gone down now. And I think it is, probably teachers occasionally, using the facilities or whatever it might be, but, it's scared a lot of the kids off. So the administration's been on top of it for sure.
Okay, so that 10 bit hazy.
So Rich,
It was good.
Rich, in a situation like that, did you recommend that the parent who approached you address it with the administration?
No. I wouldn't
Why
do
not?
that.
Should be my biggest point.
No.
So it's incredibly helpful for us when anyone contacted, whether it's a student, whether it be a teacher, whether it be a parent, so that we know immediately or as soon as possible. So we have our home monitors have a regular routine which is specifically designed to address that, and we've been hitting those very hard. We do find it. Quite frankly, we've discovered, probably shouldn't give too many secrets. We are seeing that, the style of clothing has actually evolved, not necessarily hand in hand, but to benefit students sometimes, so that like sweatpants are more likely to have very tightly tapered legs at the end, and what some kids will do is they'll have holes in their pockets, and so they can just drop the device down into their pants. So now whenever we suspect somebody, we're always checking the hems of their pants. We even use the metal detector, which, we got years ago to kind of when the big thing was you need to be able to test for weapons and stuff. We thankfully never had to use it for that, but it's very useful to try and find a safe device which is significantly metal.
I have a question. So, am I correct to say that vaping, whether it's nicotine or whatever, the fruit, it's illegal for
Yes.
children under 18?
Correct. Yeah.
So if the kids are found with it, what's you mentioned aggressive, what is that approach?
We
Can you
use
explain that?
our policy and practice for tobacco use is what we're using. So if it's your first offense, we encourage and try to move you into a smoking cessation program, which we offer here at school. So it's a multiple session program which helps students to rid themselves of the thing. And then if it continues, then it's more disciplinary in nature. We're looking
Are the
at
parents involved from the beginning?
Absolutely. Absolutely. One of the challenges that we have is that when we confiscate a pack of cigarettes, they typically end up in the garbage, but we're confiscating these devices which cost upwards $80 to $100, and more parents insist that they come pick it up because oftentimes they're the ones that purchase them, and or the student nags them enough that mom and dad, I spent. So it's
But it's illegal,
yeah.
so why wouldn't we as a school just throw it out?
If a parent always has the right to pick up any possession.
Even if it's illegal? Like if the child is found with pot,
Oh, no.
right, but that's illegal,
But-
vaping is illegal.
But an adult can have it, so the parent has every right to retrieve the property that belongs to the family. Yeah, no, if it was a, a glass pipe, or if it was a, that would not.
So if these parents were to call the administration, what is your recourse when the parents do call and they have concerns about, my child's going into the bathroom, they feel uncomfortable? So what would you do in that scenario? I'm just curious to know.
Well, we would, first of all, see if there's any additional information that we may not be aware of. Is there a particular individual that they're aware of who's doing this? And obviously, if somebody shares that with us, that's done in confidence, and we would never share that with anybody else. So-and-so told me you were doing this. We would try to find out, is there a pattern that we're not aware of? Is this a bathroom that you haven't seen any activity in? We would review with them what it is that we're doing, talk to their child to assure them that, it is safe, and here's the steps that you can take. If you do see somebody, here's how you can share that information without putting yourself in in an unhappy situation.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Move on to item number 8.11 or 8.11, discussion regarding upcoming vacancy for the athletic director position, which was raised by Joe, seconded by Rich.
Yeah, I missed several of the budget meetings, but I noticed that, and I had this conversation with Superintendent Saminsky about just, I'd like to know what the path we're taking for that vacancy. Because at one point it was a full-time position of an athletic director, and then when we got our budget, it was back to the same situation that we currently have, which is a .60 or whatever the number is. So it's really, we're back to the same scenario that we had in the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years, whatever it's been. So with the retirement of the current athletic director, I'd just like to know what the plan is for the next succeeder, or what are we doing?
We'll be posting the position, ask the high school principal to put together the screening committee and make a recommendation. And that's the way we handle all those positions. And usually, when we get to this time of the year, after this year is a bit unusual, this is the time we start advertising for next year's positions. So that we begin that process.
But is that position going to be an inside, is it a teacher, the
I
same
will
scenario?
I will post it inside first, as I'm required to under the collective bargaining agreement.
I think to get to Joe's question, is it going to be a full-time
No,
position?
it's gonna be a full-time
Is that your question? Is
position.
that being a full-time position?
Remember,
just
when we
as
were
a
looking at
full-time?
we tried to create a position for a full-time athletic director, and we did the numbers, and we found that there was going to be a substantial increase. If my memory serves me correctly, I have to go back and look at it. We were looking at about $100,000 increase, and I was looking to get the kind of proposal to the board. Because what we would have to do is, if we were to put a full-time athletic director in, that position would have to be an administrative position, so that we would have to set the salary in conjunction with the administrative bargaining unit, and we would have to abolish the position of middle school athletic director, combine both of them. And when we did the numbers of both of those positions, the cost increase was substantial. So, this is the way we're trying to do it.
But are we paying, we're paying 2 teachers to be an athletic director?
Yeah, but what I would have to do is remember that we would have to sit with the administrators union and negotiate the salary of this individual. It would have to be an administrative position with an administrative salary. We would then, in the case of the middle school athletic director, we would accrue the stipend, yes, but we would also have to decrease somebody's teaching load by, I think this is .2, so that we would have to do that. And then we would do the same for the middle school, and we would have to adjust that .4 position somehow. Any other questions on this subject? And that brings us to item number 9, information items 9.1A, high school, middle school calendar of events, and 9.1B, high school, middle school use of building. Any question directly to the superintendent? Brings us to item number 10, public comments. Anyone like to address the board at this time? Yes.
Nick Shea, Marlboro Board of Selectmen member, but speaking as an individual. A request, if I could, and as I get along in years, I hear less and less, but we've got all these beautiful microphones. Nobody is within 5 feet of one, and sometimes it's very difficult to hear some of what the board has to say. Frankly, I think the microphones are probably not the best for what we do, but as long, and maybe they're not even on, I don't hear them.
I can't tell.
Yeah,
The buttons are on, but sometimes Rich does an adjustment at some point.
Yeah, I didn't turn the volume up.
Oh, okay. But We apologize for that. Thank you.
Want me to turn it out for now, so we can say goodnight?
The other thing, I have to say, this business with this barrier, protective barrier for the tennis thing it's just the most amazing Chinese fire drill I've ever seen. We started out with a plan, and if I remember right, was gonna be like $18,000 to $20,000, and it was turned down because the coaches were concerned about the position of the poles. Then we hired a design professional firm to design it, and now we have a $38,000 gizmo. Now we gotta add 3, maybe 6 more, plus an $8,000 fee for design. And we didn't bother to ask the coaches, that's what cured that problem. It just doesn't make any sense to me. And we know we have a defective design. This whole board has struggled for the last couple of years and probably longer with past improvements and capital projects that have been done with poor planning or poor supervision, and now we have a design that we know is defective, is incomplete, and the only reason that we need to do it is, well, we've been looking at this for a long time, so we just can't wait anymore. But, as a taxpayer, I'm disappointed. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? That brings us to item number 10, which is an executive session. And so I need a motion for the board to enter into executive session for discussion concerning collective bargaining with the nurses union and the Rham Education Association union, along with the discussion on the superintendent's performance evaluation and contract negotiations. And also like to invite the superintendent to participate in part of the executive session. Is there a motion? Motion made by Amy, is there a second? Second by Dave. Any discussion? Okay, hearing none, all those in favor go into executive session. The clock is saying at 9:09 p.m. Say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay. We're in executive session. What I'd like to do is have a brief recess so we can allow the adjustments for the camera.